Being able to create vector artwork will open up a lot of possibilities for different projects that you can take on as an illustrator. In the past, working in vector format was a bit more complicated, but this isn't the past anymore. We're in the future. With Adobe Fresco on the iPad, you can easily create vector artwork without having to wrestle with the pen tool and learn the fine art of bezier curves like you would in Adobe Illustrator. In this video, I'm going to show you how to take a rough sketch and turn it into magical vector artwork. And hey, if you're new to this channel, my name is Piascik. I've been an independent illustrator for the past 12 years. I've worked with a huge range of clients from Cartoon Network to Adidas to Google to tons more. On this channel, I talk about my illustration process, my experience, do some tips and tutorials, and more. So if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, maybe go ahead and subscribe. All right, on to the video. Before we get into it, let me just do a quick little vector explanation. So there's two main types of image formats for your digital illustrations. There's raster and vector. Raster is pixel-based, and vector is magical math. Basically, it's made up of points and curves, and it's infinitely scalable because it's always sort of recalculating. It's like points in computers and their directions. Listen, it's complicated. All you need to know is that vector artwork can be scaled as big as a building and still look just as crispy as it would on a little card. As you can imagine, this is crucial for things like logo design, where it needs to be able to be produced in a ton of different ways and never lose any clarity. From time to time throughout my career, I've had to create vector artwork for some different projects. Most recently, I had to create vector artwork for some packaging that I was doing illustrations for because the artwork was going to be used on a lot of different elements in different sizes, so that it needs to be scaled infinitely. And that could be on, you know, the cans within the package to the packaging itself to like a delivery truck that has the graphics on the side. So the artwork needed to be very versatile and easily scaled. Before Adobe Fresco, when I had to deliver vector artwork, I would need to take my line work and then convert it into vector format using some sort of live tracing tool that would interpret the pixelated artwork and convert it into a vector file. This isn't always ideal because there's some sort of discrepancy between the pixel artwork and then how it translates into vector artwork. You lose some details, some things sort of get smoothed out, or, you know, there's just a difference because it's a computer generating something that you had already done. After I got the line work to be vector format, I would have to then go in and color that artwork in Adobe Illustrator. So this whole process was a lot more time consuming than it is in Adobe Fresco, where you can just simply draw in vector artwork, color, and do anything you would as if you were drawing in raster format. If this sounds confusing, don't worry, because when I'm doing it on Adobe Fresco, we'll be talking about it and you'll see how easy it is and you'll know what's happening. Wow. I'm gonna meet you on my iPad. We're gonna take this sketch. We're gonna redraw it in vector format. It's gonna be great. And listen, you may be thinking, hey, didn't you just do a skull last week? And listen, yeah, I like skulls, okay? But I put flowers in this one. So that's something, right? Also, I'm doing a daily skull project where I'm drawing a new skull every day. So this is called multitasking. Ever heard of it? I'm doing drawing for this video, and it's also going to be my daily drawing. All right, I'll see you at the iPad. All right, I'm going to go ahead and make a new document. I think I'm going to do like 2000 pixels wide by 2500 pixels tall. I think that'll be fine size. I usually try to stay above 2000 pixels because anything less than that, I feel like the amount of control you have over the brush is a bit compromised. So what I'm going to do now is place my sketch. So I'm going to go over to the little image option at the bottom of the toolbar and then go to photos and then choose my sketch. And then it's placed right here. I think I'll scale it up a tiny bit. And then I'm going to convert it to a pixel layer just so it gets rid of all that extra stuff on the outside. So this is my sketch. What I'm going to do is drag it below my blank layer and just bring the opacity down so I can still see it, but I want to trace over it. And to start drawing in vector, it's really as simple as just using the vector brush. So if you look over the toolbar, the first brush is pixel brushes. So this is, what you would see in any other drawing app, like the same as Procreate. Below that is live brushes. That's a whole other topic, but it's like watercolor and oil brushes that are like, can be reactivated and are magic. They're like real life. And then below that, the one with the little circle, this is your vector brush. So if you tap on that, you've got some options. I generally just like to use a basic one with the round option, but you can choose these different options here. It's pretty straightforward. I'm not too fussy with my line work. I guess I say that, but I sort of am. I like it to be simple, but in a particular way. I don't like it to be angled or anything like that. I like to be able to control how it looks with my hand and not the angle. Like I don't want it to have like a chiseled edge or something like that. And if it tapers, I want to do the taper myself by releasing pressure or putting more pressure to add thickness. So if you go into the settings here, you can see these things. So like the angle thing I was talking about, I like to keep that all the way down to 0. And then I have I guess I have 1% in the begin taper. To be honest, that might just be me not doing it properly. But I have my pressure dynamics on and all this other stuff. I guess I have it at 99%. To be honest, I'm not that knowledgeable in terms of brush settings, but I know this is what I like for me, and this might be the default settings for the round brush. But if it's not, I guess you could just look at this and see if you want my settings. That's it right there. Okay. So I got my vector brush, and it's literally as simple as just drawing with it. And you'll notice that the drawing experience is pretty similar to how it would be with any other brush. So your pressure sensitivity, like I can go light, thin line, push, heavier line. It's pretty easy. So I often have my smoothing turned all the way up because I like smooth lines for things like this. If I'm doing something rough, obviously I turn it all the way down. But for smooth organic shapes like this and like curves, I like the smoothing all the way up because it just makes it easier to draw those smooth curves. I'm just gonna start tracing this. I like to trace things in pieces. So I'm gonna start with the skull, because why not? So I'm just gonna come in here and outline this. And to be honest, there's not really much to say. It's kind of a spoiler alert, but this is pretty easy. There's no magic. There's no like secret mastering of the pen tool or like learning about curves and geometry. It's just drawing. It's like drawn with a perfect Sharpie, to be honest. And when you're using the vector brush in Fresco, there's not like, if you're used to vector artwork and you're thinking about like fill and outline, like stroke, that kind of thing, that's not how it works with this brush. I like to think of it as using the blob brush in Illustrator, but with a little bit more control. So if you are familiar with the blob brush, you'll feel right at home. And you'll be like, wow, this is like the blob brush if the blob brush was better. I don't know if I'm gonna just skip past that point where I was like, blob brush, blob brush, blob brush. Not an easy thing to say. All right, let's get the rest of this circle going. Fail. One thing I will say that Fresco is missing is the snapping shapes, but snapping shapes are coming very, very soon. They're already in the beta version and working great, and they were already teased on Kyle Webster's Instagram page, so very soon. Fresco adds updates all the time, so Hey, you see that door? That's my cat deciding the door cannot be shut. There's no reason for him to come in here, but he can't handle the door being shut. All right, so we got the skull. What I'm gonna do now is what are you even eating? There's no food in here. I think he literally brought a piece of food in here just to show some disrespect to my YouTube channel. Sorry to interrupt. I just had a quick announcement. Did you know that my channel is now offering memberships? The different membership tiers have a ton of different perks and different exclusive content and live streams and all kinds of stuff like that. Speaking of exclusive content, if you've been watching this video and you were thinking, hey, I wish that this was happening in real time and it wasn't all sped up, well, there's a uncut version of this video already available to new members. So I don't know, maybe consider becoming a member. We got monthly live streams, we got monthly hangouts, we got all kinds of stuff. We got discounts, we've got exclusive badges, we've got emojis, we got everything that you could want in a YouTube channel membership for an illustration channel that sometimes talks about ADHD. I don't know if I'm selling it. I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you get back to the video. But just think about it. If you look down below where it says subscribe, right next to it, you'll see join. So maybe do both. Okay, good talk. Bye. Okay, so I'm gonna draw some of these flowers on different layers just to give myself some more flexibility in case I want to move things. I also think I'll probably duplicate some of these circular ones so I don't have to draw them again. So this bigger one overlaps. So what I'm gonna do is turn down the opacity on the skull just so it's easier to see what I'm doing. Okay, I'm gonna do a new layer for a new flower. I like to just keep things separate while I'm building, just in case, makes things easier in the long run. All right, so this one over here is pretty similar, so I'm gonna just go ahead and duplicate this. And then move it over here, rotate it, and scale it up. It's a little bit bigger. Okay, now I'll make a new layer to do this because these are a little bit different. Not crazy about how tight this inner circle thing got, so I'm actually going to undo this and try to redo it to fix the spacing a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna merge these flowers down. One tip that I will mention when you're doing this is be careful because right above merge down, you'll see convert to pixel layer. And there's been a couple occasions where I have accidentally converted my vector artwork to a pixel layer, not realized it until the end, and that is super frustrating. So merge down, merge down. Now I need to work on these stems, which is the part I'm a little stressed about. So I don't want them to be nice and smooth and like figure out where they're coming from within the eyes. So I'm doing them on their own layers so I can draw the line continuously, and as opposed to like stopping to go behind or in front of things. This is another time that having the smoothing turned up all the way is very helpful. Okay, so now I'm gonna go in and erase the overlap stuff. So this one's gonna be in front, so I'm not gonna worry about that one. I'm gonna erase that. So it looks like we need to finish this curve here. So I'm actually gonna merge down. Hey, did you just catch that? I accidentally converted it into a pixel layer, which I didn't want to do, but I caught it in time so that I could undo it. Okay, so now we can erase the skull area that overlaps or is behind. Okay, so now we can turn the opacity of the skull back up and we can merge this all together. Now I can use the paint bucket to fill in the rest of the eye socket. Okay, so I'm noticing here, I accidentally erased part of the eye that I didn't want to. I will turn on my sketch layer again, bring down the opacity, make a new layer, and then draw these little squiggle things coming out. All right, turn off the sketch and then just go back into our skull and erase what's behind these squiggly things. I don't know what they are. Don't ask me. I'm just the one drawing over here. All right, so that is good. Oh, I did the pixel thing again. See? It's very easy to accidentally convert to a pixel layer. So I'm gonna merge that down. And the one thing I'm noticing is that I think the nose looks a little too forward when it should be on an angle a little bit. So I'm just gonna redo that. I'm going to merge that together. Okay, so I'm gonna color this just like I would if it was regular raster artwork. First I'm actually gonna delete my sketch that I don't need anymore. I'm going to make a new layer below my line work layer. Then I'm gonna click on my line work layer and I'm going to set it as a reference. That way I can use the color on a layer below and keep them separate to make things easier. So I have some colors selected over here that I'm gonna use. And I'm just gonna use the paint bucket just like I would with any other tool. But the difference here is when I fill it up, it's gonna ask me if the layer is going to be vector or pixel. So you just wanna make sure you choose vector. And then it'll just fill in like it would in any other situation. I think that's actually a little dark now that I look at it again for the skull. I think that's better. So all I'm doing is just tapping and filling in the color. And then if you turn off the line work layer, you can see that we're just filling in the shapes within the line work layer. Okay, now I think I'll go in and add a little bit of shadow just to give it a little more oomph, if you will. So I'm gonna do a new layer and I'm going to grab a light grayish purple, which is like a desaturated light purple. And I'm gonna set this layer over here to multiply. And then I'm just gonna start drawing in a vector brush onto the drawing. What am I saying here? If you want to use the paint bucket, you need to remember to turn off your reference layer so it's not referencing that. And then make sure you're on the right layer when you want to do it the second time. Okay, so you may be thinking, hey, that looks kind of bonkers. That's not a very good shadow. And I say, yeah, you're right. But if we just adjust the opacity a little bit, looks pretty good. You could always do a less saturated purple if you want it to be a little less bold. But this is a colorful image, so I feel like I'm just going to go for it. Actually, I think I'll bring this color all the way down. The shadow, I mean. Okay, cool. That's that. This is vector artwork. You can scale this forever and you will have tight lines and no pixels. That is 12,800% in zoom right there. And it is crispy critter. No pixels over here. So that was pretty easy and fun, right? While you're here, check out this other video that'll show you how to easily animate your drawing in Adobe Fresco. You can create vector artwork and then animate it all within the same software. I don't see Procreate doing that. Maybe they will soon. Maybe this isn't going to age well. Listen, I think Procreate's great. I'm not a Procreate hater. Just saying. Fresco's got the hits right now. All right, good talk.